What's up, guys? Welcome back to this week's episode of the Fitness and Lifestyle Podcast. Today, I'm here with the past guest of the show, Michael Zerafa. Michael, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, bro. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure to have you back on, bro. Last time we spoke was pre-Horn fight. Now we've got the lead up to the Anthony Mundine fight. So today, just wanted to have a chat about it, man. Chat about the lead up to the fight, the camp. Your thoughts going into it, what the reception's been like from the public. We had a quick chat before we hit record, and you're obviously feeling pretty fucking good and everything at the moment. And it's literally been since then, since I saw you last, I reckon. So it'd be good chance to catch up, man. So firstly, when did the idea, or I guess the possibility of fighting Mundine come about?
Well, this fight was meant to happen 12 months ago because of obviously the pandemic. It got pushed back. It was a fight we always wanted. Growing up, I reached out to him on MySpace, believe it or not. And
on MySpace?
Yeah, I said to him, and he still remembers, he still got the message, and he said...
MSN Messenger?
Yeah, back then. That's how long ago. It would have been about 13 years ago. And I said to him, one day I'm going to fight you, one day I'm going to retire you. And he replied back with, if you're looking to get beat, I'm the man to meet. And 15 years later, we've always had that rivalry. It's a legendary fight for me and a meaningful fight for me. And I said that it was going to be his last fight, so I'm in the full swing of training, and we're 5 weeks out now, and I'm hanging to get back in there. It's been 12 months I've been in the ring, obviously, since Jeff Horn.
Yeah.
And I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
We'll get back on track with the Mundine fight in a second, but you mentioned obviously 12 months since the last fight. With COVID, how much did that restrict your training? Like, were you still able to do any sparring and stuff at all, like actually get in the ring and move around a bit, or was it all just kind of your own type of work on the bag by yourself? And
yeah, well, at the start it was nothing, it didn't really affect me much. Obviously because we're in the gym training for the Mundine fight, but as it picked up and COVID, got worse, I literally had to just lock myself away and train because I still had the fight pending. So there was a potential fight still happening with no trainers. So it was pretty tough, but I just surrounded myself around good people and just stayed focused and kept my mind on the job. And unfortunately, it didn't end up happening last year. So
that was which fight was that?
That was for the Mundine fight.
Mundine, okay.
Yeah, so that was meant to happen in April last year.
Right.
And then
we
had some religion issues or whatever, and it pushed it to June, and the virus kicked in, and then just kept getting delayed. So
yeah.
The date was still in motion, but obviously they were just touch and go depending on how the virus was going with it all. So now this year we fight Mundine and we look for bigger and better thing. Is
there a possibility of the Horn trilogy?
Well, last night, or the night before, actually it was last night, Australian Boxing Central, which is one of the main platforms for Australian boxing, whacked up on Facebook, a trilogy fight with me and Jeff Horn. I believe it will happen eventually, and we've got unfinished business. It's a fight that I want, and they're trying to stir the pot. Jeff Horn, I've interviewed Jeff Horn, and I've asked him the same question, and he said, Zerafa's a beast, and doesn't really want to go down that path again, but money talks, unfortunately, in this sport. So, look, I'm hoping it does, because we're 1-1, and there needs to be a decider fight.
Yeah, look, when it comes to sport, business, and most things in life, I'm a massive believer in you either win or you learn. So post-fight against Horn, obviously it's disappointing, but were you able to take a lot away from that, a lot of positives and things to go away from that and kind of feed that hunger moving forward? Because from the outside in, a lot of people might look at it and go, you'd be disappointed with it, but what were you able to take away from that?
Look, you definitely don't fight, the homeboy with all their judges and referees, because anyone that watched that fight knew I won. That fight should have been called off, and it wasn't. But I cop it on the chin. But for me, like I said, I was just back in the gym. I took a few days off, and I was back in the gym, and I'm pretty humble when I lose. I haven't been on that end too many times, which I'm grateful for. But I just cop it on the chin, and I move forward and look for the bigger picture, and that's a world champion. And I just got to jump the obstacles that are in my way, and that was one of them.
Yeah.
And I've overcome that. I've overcome COVID.
Yeah.
And I just want to get back in there. It's been 12 months, and I'm excited to dance under the lights again and main event against none other than one of the best that's ever laced up, Anthony The Man Mundine. So I'm excited.
Leading into this fight, so how far out does camp start? And then how does that kind of progress as we go through? I remember last time we had a quick chat about it, and fortunately, I've been able to go through the experience myself, obviously on a fucking much different level. But to get an understanding of how brutal it is mentally and physically. And something that I found was just physically, yes, obviously it's brutal, but mentally for me, I found it was just it was one of the hardest things I've ever done mentally leading into it. So what does that look like for those that are at home that have just no idea what a preparation, because most people, hear about you fighting Mundine, no one will think about it again until the night, and everyone will get the pay-per-view and watch it, and then that's all they see. But like, what goes into this fight?
Well, normally the training camp goes for 10 to 12 weeks. I like roughly around 12 weeks, and I'm training 2 to 3 times a day, 6 days a week.
Yeah.
And on the 7th day, I do all my recovery, ice baths and massages and all that kind of stuff. But because of the virus, I've been in camp for the last 13 months. So for the last 13 months, I've been training 2-3 times a day. So it has been pretty hard, and like you said, it's mental. It's a big mental game, and the body can push. Sometimes the mind just gives up, and I've had a few of those days. And like I said, you just got to remind yourself what the end goal is, and that's a world champion. And a bad day only lasts 24 hours, and I just tell myself that. I wake up, and some days I can't be bothered. People say, "How do you get motivated?" And some days I can't. I'm human, and I just want to sleep in and hit the snooze on the alarm clock and just go back to bed and have no worries in the world. But just get up whilst I'm complaining and not wanting to do something. I'm driving to the gym, I force myself to get there. And once I get there, all the hard work's really done. You just got to rock up. And like I said, we're 5 weeks out, and it's really amping up now. And in the last week, we just pull back and we just surround ourselves around the team and just go over the game plan and just relax the body, relax the mind, and go into the 5-week clear vision.
Yeah, and you mentioned you like to stick with 12 weeks. It gives you a little bit longer. Obviously, with a deadline, it's a bit different. We talk about, say, for example, a health and fitness goal, someone wanting to lose body fat or build muscle, whatever. If shit happens in the lead up, then shit happens. You can push back the date when you want to finish by. But obviously, with a fight, you can't exactly call up Anthony and go, "Hey, bros, had a bit of a rough week. Can we just push this back a week?" So, what does that look like when you do get a bit of a niggle, or if you do feel like you're overworking, you need to take that training deload, which is super important, and listen to your body. Like, how do you guys approach that? Do you try and work through it, or do you listen to the body and pull back a bit, or how does that look?
Look, I've always got that. I've always had that mentality. Hard work beats talent. So even when I'm sore, tired, injured, whatever it is, I always push. But like I said, I surround myself around my team who are pretty switched on. And like I said, they do everything for me. And if they see that I'm not performing, or my performance is dropping a little bit, they'll advise to take me, have a day off. Add an extra recovery session in there, or if it needs any medical advice or something to go get it sussed out. But I don't know, I just kind of grind through it, and I don't believe in days off. I believe in lighter days, but I don't believe in days off. I just like
always something that can be done.
Yeah, like instead of running 10Ks in on a clock, just you can still do your 10Ks, but just zone out, tread water and just get it in the bank. And then when it comes time to fight night, you can spend it. But I just like going through the motions on those days. Just when you feel better, you don't have to push the body and kill it.
Yeah.
You just go through the motions and just get it done. And like I said, when it's in the bank, fight night, you can spend it.
With sparring leading into the fight, like how early are you sparring from week 1 of camp, and then does it increase, decrease as you get close to the fight? Obviously, excluding the week of the fight where you're pulling things back, like how often are you sparring, how many rounds you're doing? Are you trying to spar against guys that are going to be similar to what Mundine's going to be like? I'm assuming you're not just going to be sparring, amateurs that have never fought before. But how does that all look?
Well, in Melbourne, it's very, very hard for sparring. Just the quality isn't that great. But look, I try to start around 8 weeks out of camp, and I try to add just one sparring a week. And then as I get to about 6 to 5 weeks out, I start amping it up 2-3 times a week. And we try to get guys that imitate the guy you're fighting. So we're trying to find people that have similar styles to Mundine, on that back foot, loves the counter fight. But again, it's very, very difficult. And bigger fights, I'll probably go overseas. I've got a good relationship with guys over in LA. Freddie Roach, Manny Pacquiao's trainer at Wildcard, so I'll head over there and I'll do a huge training camp there. But for this fight, look, I believe in my ability, I believe in my team, and I feel like we've done enough work leading to this fight. But we're just going through the motions and just building on our strength. We've implemented strength training, which we never did, so I'm looking forward to getting out there and putting that all on show.
When you look at sports like AFL, we were talking about Penrose before, how good of an athlete he is, but we're talking about AFL, basketball, things like that. Teams watch a lot of game tape on their opposition and do a lot of scouting and stuff. Like, how much of that goes into the lead up to the fight against Mundine? Are you guys watching a lot of his fights to see how he fights, like what he doesn't like or how he responds under certain situations? And then is that how you then put together your plan coming into the fight, or are you going in fighting your own game and on the attack type of thing?
Look, I've never been a big believer in watching my opponent. In boxing, it's the first fight every fight. You know what I mean? Like you're fighting someone different. If I watch Mundine fight, Danny Green, he's going to fight him differently than how he's going to fight me. So I leave it to my team. They do all the homework, and then in the gym they come back with the drills and things we need to work on. But for me, like I said, I figured out. I'm a 12-round fighter. I take my time and I set my game plans, pretty early in the fight, and then I pick up the pace during the rounds, and towards the end I bring it home. But I've never really watched any opponents. Like I said, every fight's different.
You mentioned then 12-round fight. In sparring, are you going 12 rounds and beyond? Are you doing, what's that look like? Are you pretty, when you are sparring, are you going through the full 12? So then on the night, if you need to, you can go through that?
Yeah, 100%. We try to imitate the fight, same game plans, same structures, but I'll throw fresh guys in, 4 rounds each guy. They'll jump in and throw someone else in, but I'll stay in the whole 12 rounds. So I've always got fresh oppositions, coming in at me and trying to test me. But we're fit, like I said, man. We're training 2-3 times a day.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's a big mental thing. The body will push, and it's better to be underdone than overdone. And that's why I'm listening to my body, So I'm just going through the motions and just trying to enjoy it. And that's the main thing about the sport is you got to love it. Love what you do, and then you're not really working. You're out there and just having fun.
Do you find it's important with sparring? Like obviously, this is something that I was kind of curious about after I did the lead up to my own fight. Is like, do you find it more beneficial to be in the ring sparring against guys who are touching you up and you're having to deal with that adversity, or to be in the ring where you're leaving there going, fuck, I am the man, like no one's going to touch me, and then maybe on the night you get clipped or whatever, and then all of a sudden you've got to deal with that adversity that you may not have dealt with for the past 6 weeks because you've been touching everyone up. Like how does that look?
For me, like I said, I truly believe, you train hard, you fight easy. So for me, every fight is different. Some fighters don't really like hard sparring, and there's world champions that I know don't really spar that many ready rounds in the training camp. But for me, I love the hard rounds because I know that if I'm getting through them and assessing myself around the world, fight sparring, Miguel Cotto and guys that have been there and done that. When it comes to fight time, it's you've done all the hard work. That you can survive with the best. So the guy you're fighting isn't at that level. So if you're dominating against the guys that are better or more advanced, then your opposition on the fight night shouldn't really, hold you back. So I always test myself. I want to always do that extra round, that extra mile. I've been told a few times that I overwork, but that's probably why I'm so successful, I guess, in the sport.
Post sparring session. So, I talk a bit about recovery on the podcast in a different way. Obviously, most people aren't going to the gym and sparring 12 rounds, but what is that? How do you approach your recovery? Is it ice baths? Is it using certain supplements? Are you, is it massage, magnesium? Like, what do you do for recovery post a hard week of training or even a hard day of training?
Well, I never really, besides this camp, I never really did recovery, to be honest. It was just kind of eat well and sleep well. But now I've implemented, ice baths, the recovery boots, mobility, stretching, massage. I'm doing the works, and I'm doing it in between sessions, after sessions, and I'm feeling a really big difference in the body. And my mind's still at 18, but my body's nearly 30. So you feel a big difference, and I highly recommend it to everybody. It's not pleasant getting into an ice bath, but you feel the reward afterwards. And like I said, I've been doing that down at Elite and Kilo. I've got Joey Kokonis who does my massage, and all the boys down there are looking after me. So I highly recommend it.
Unreal. Now, I don't know if this is a question that you've been asked coming into the fight or even something you want to think about, but I think, I've been talking to a few people about the fight, and I guess from the outside in, it almost looks like coming into this, you're expected to win, and if you do win, then people are going to go, yeah, you should, that's how it should have finished. But then if, not manifesting anything, but if you did happen to lose, then that has a relatively negative projection on the next few fights. So why take the fight? What was your thought process, and what does the fight actually mean to you?
There's a belt on the line. There's a WBA, which I'm sitting at number 7 in the world at the moment, and beating Mundine will, elevate me to number 4 or 5. We didn't really want the Mundine fight. We wanted the Tim Tszyu fight. and then that fell through. And then we wanted the Jeff Lawn trilogy, that fell through. And everyone else I've beaten in Australia. So the only one that was really man enough to step up was, Anthony Mundine. Again, it's a legacy fighter that I've always wanted. It's a name, a 3-time world champion. He's done things that everyone would want to do. For me, like I said, I just want to get in there and make a statement. People think I can get on the phone and call the world champion tomorrow and say, hey, we're coming over. It doesn't work like that. There's a building process. Yeah. And because of the virus, I haven't been in the ring for, come March, it'll be 14 months. So I needed a fight to bounce back on. And, Mundine was the man that we chose. And I didn't even choose that. It was my team. I just fight whoever's in front of me. Yeah. I get the same job just to get the W. But it's a risky fight. Mundine comes out and beats me. It's all over. You know what I mean? And I beat Mundine, and you bash the old man. So I'm the villain in the sport, and you can't win. And
does the possibility of getting beaten, and like you said, maybe it is all over. Does that fire you up even more and give you more drive coming into this to really just come out and just show it and make that statement and show people like this is fucking the real deal and this is where I'm at?
100%. I've got a job to do, and it's like someone getting up at. There's a carpenter in the morning, sets up, does their tools and has to build a house. I'm the same. I rock up to the venue and I've got to get that W. And whoever's in front of me, unfortunately it's Anthony Mundine this time, but I've got to go out there with bad intentions and get that win. But there's a lot of haters in the sport. You can't, no matter what you do. I've given my whole fight process to charities, and everyone calls you a butt kisser, and you say I'm going to knock somebody out, and everyone calls you an arrogant, bastard or whatever you want to cop. So for me, like I said, I love the haters, and I feel sorry for the haters because if they knew better, they'd be doing better in life. So that kind of drives me too. I just smile, and the fact that they take that 5 minutes out of their day to write something negative on my comment means I'm doing something right. So
100%. Do you find, you mentioned the haters, like with social media, you're pretty active on there. I talk about social media a bit. I think can be the best and the worst thing. Like for me, without Instagram in particular, like my business wouldn't even be close to where it is right now. In saying that, if I didn't use it for business, I probably wouldn't even use it at all, to be honest. Like there's certain shit on there that's just negativity and stuff. So do you find it helps you grow, I guess, your fan and follower base, and also just give people a bit of an inside look as to who you actually are or what goes into the fight, or like why do you use it? What do you think the pros and cons are of social media coming into a fight?
Look, if I wasn't who I was or do what I did, I wouldn't have it. I feel like it does, ruin a lot of, people's careers, and it gives people, power to give their opinion. And some of
I think it also gives people a very false, almost an illusion as to what reality is as well.
Exactly
right.
What I mean? Exactly right. Like I said, people, aren't doing as good as you, or they're doing better or whatever. It gives people power to put their input in, and some input can, throw people off. It can help people, but lately I've been getting a lot of negativity because I'm fighting Anthony Mundine. But again, like I said, it's a job that needs to be done. Everyone's like, oh, you should have fought Tim Zoo, and like I've got the power to do that. So I try to stay off it as much as possible, and I suggest, a lot of athletes, if they aren't strong-minded, to stay off it. But for me, like I said, I enjoy it. I like reading it because it's good. You see the good and the bad. And sometimes you see the negativity and you think, oh yeah, they've got a good point. I can take something from that.
And like you said, I agree when you say, you feel sorry for the ones that are commenting negative stuff, particularly those who don't even know who you are as a person as well. Because at the end of the day, they're sitting at home looking at your content with fuck all else better to do apart from make a comment to try and hopefully upset someone else, which is not going to affect them in any way possible.
That's why
you're going to feel sorry for them.
9 out of 10, I normally look at the people and it always says follow back. So they're not haters, they're just undercover fans, you know what I mean? So for me, like I said, I enjoy it. It's at the start, I was a little bit like, oh Jesus, I don't really want to be that guy. But you got to, in this sport, you can't have, in boxing, you can't have two nice guys. How can you sell a fight when you've got two guys saying, oh, all the best and, God bless. As long as two guys go in there healthy and they come in healthy, that's all you can ask for. But you got to sell the fight. It's a business. People forget.
You talk about that just quickly. There's a couple more things I want to touch on while I've got you here. So recently, obviously, different sport, but still combat sport. McGregor loses to Poirier before the fight. Before his last two fights, to be honest, completely different man to what he's been previously. When he does draw that crowd, when he does come into fights, thinking that there's no other option apart from him coming out with the W. Do you think the fact that he's coming into all these fights now, the last two fights, kind of as the nice guy and not his usual cocky, arrogant kind of like selling the fight itself. Do you reckon that's working against him compared to what it is?
100%. You know, the business is, he was running that business, you know what I mean? Now that he's got that personality, it doesn't really suit him and it doesn't really turn heads. You know, people tuned in because the fight was on. It wasn't because McGregor was fighting. You know, back then it was because they wanted to see McGregor win or lose, but he's, like I said, he's turning heads. And that's what I'm doing, you know, like I'm now the new Mundine. I get called the Maltese Mundine now. So, I mean, I'm the most talked about in Australian boxing. You know, my face is running it at the moment, me and Tim Zhu, but you know, even Tim Zhu, it's because of his old man. You take away his last name and he wouldn't be getting these opportunities. And you know, I reiterate that all the time, but unfortunately, that's just how, you know, this sport works here. And like I said, I've just got to get over this fight and then hopefully head back overseas and fight the big boys.
What do you think, what are your thoughts on, I don't know if you've put any thought to it or seen much of it yourself, but what are your thoughts on guys like, you know, YouTube Jake Paul calling out boxers and getting these, and like, I mean, in the end of the day, they're selling fights because of their follower base from YouTube and all their social media stuff, but I mean, yeah, what are your thoughts around the whole thing? They're fighting on, you know, the fact that he fought on like a Mike Tyson or Roy Jones card is just crazy. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's ridiculous. You know, look, it turns heads, but it's just taking the piss out of the sport. You know, it's not like I can call up, you know, Collingwood and say, hey, I'm overboxing this week. Put me in the forward line. You know, it doesn't work like that. But these guys, you know, are done with whatever they've done, and they transition to boxing, and they're getting paid millions to fight nobodies. So, I mean, look, it is what it is, but fight the power. There's a lot of fighters that are, you know, coming out there. Lopez, you know, there's guys overseas, the big names that are saying it's ridiculous. Canelo Alvarez is all, you know, against it. But yeah, like it just takes the power and the you know, the dedication out of the sport. It just looks like anybody can do it, you know, and that's why in Australia.
Well, I mean, apart from a cash grab, how ridiculous do you find it that Mayweather's agreed to fight Logan Paul?
It's ridiculous. But look, you know,
and then he comes out yesterday and says he wants to fight 50 Cent. Yeah. And like, I mean, for me, it's like Michael Jordan saying that he's going to come out and he wants to fucking take the championship down at MSAC next week. Like, it's crazy. It might happen. You know, I mean, the way the world's going, it might actually happen. But yeah, I think it's ridiculous. Look, you know, saying that Mayweather, you know, has proven himself in the sport. He's beaten the best. He's dominated it for many years. But you know, that's it. You retire and you do your own thing now. You know, if you want to make your own promotional, you know, promotion and get these guys on there, that's fine. But don't come back after 10 years of retirement and say you want to fight, you know, singers and YouTubers and you know, other athletes. It's just ridiculous. You know, you've got guys that are killing themselves, you know, training 2-3 times a day like myself. I mean, I'm making it, but I mean, you know, I'd like to be earning that cash flow, you know what I mean? So yeah, 100%.
Unfortunately, it's disappointing. And you've got guys like Paul Gallen and, you know, Barry Hall and you know, I mean, that just come over and get main event on Foxtel, fighting nobodies and getting paid and turning heads where, you know, you got actual real fighters not getting those opportunities.
Yeah.
So
it's a bit backwards, yeah.
It's shocking. It's shocking.
100%. Well, man, look, leading into the Mundine fight, so what are we now, 5 weeks?
Correct, yeah.
5 weeks out. And you mentioned before, so the week of the fight, things back off a little bit, but I'm assuming the next kind of 4 weeks is just full steam ahead and come into it in best form. Yeah,
100%. You know, we'll pick it up. We've really amped things up now. We're sparring 2-3 times a week. I'm running 50-60 Ks a week. I'm doing over 100 rounds in the pads and strength and conditioning sessions.
Yeah.
It's full on, but I'm looking forward to that last week of, you know, getting all that work done and just relaxing, getting the weight down, and you know, obviously all the media and stuff will start pumping up too. And
is that tough? Is it a bit of a distraction, especially when you're like, you know, I talk a lot on the podcast about with fat loss, like cortisol levels, like your stress levels, and when fuckloads is going on, you're a bit overwhelmed, whatever, and your cortisol's up. It's super difficult to lose fat, to sleep well, to train well. Is that, how much of a distraction is that coming into the fight when you're just trying to focus on those rounds against Mundine, but you've got to do all these interviews and stuff? I mean, it's good, it sells the fight, but is it a distraction?
Look, you know, I like it. I'm starting to get the hang of it, but it can get pretty stressful because you've always got to be on, you know, and I wasn't really built to be, you know, on radio and on all the time. So I'm getting the hang of it. I'm learning. It's a learning, you know, process, but I'm getting better with it, and I just try to time manage everything. And like I said, I enjoy it, get my head out there, and so knock out Anthony The Man Mundine. It's pretty fun. And like I said, 5 weeks I get to do it, but I'm getting used to it. It's pretty cool.
Unreal, man. Well, where can so leading into the fight, where can everybody like watch that fight?
So Zerafa.tv, but I'll have links and all that stuff, and we'll be on mainstream, Epicenter. We'll be on a few other big platforms to watch it on. But yeah, just jump on Instagram, follow Instagram, and you'll have all the links up there.
Sweet, bro. I'll have all the links in the show notes below. So, mate, appreciate you coming in. You've got to head back and get some more work done this afternoon. But I appreciate your time, man, and good luck for the fight. I'll definitely be tuning in. Everyone who's listened today, make sure you get around him, give him a follow on Instagram, follow his lead up to the fight, and most importantly, watch him get that win against Mundine. And yeah, thanks for coming in, man.
Thanks, bro. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure. Done. One take.
Easy, bro.
We killed it.
That was good, man. That was a good chat.